She used to recognize herself in mirrors, not in the shallow, passing way, lipstick checks and stray hairs, but in the deeper sense, the kind where your eyes meet your own and something unspoken nods back. Yes, I know you. Yes, you are still here. That was before the years softened her edges, before love became logistics, before passion became partnership, before she became mom more often than she was ever called by her name. Her name was Lillian, and somewhere between folding laundry and signing permission slips, she began to feel like it no longer belonged to her. Mornings arrived early and left no room for reflection. The house stirred before the sun had fully decided to rise, small feet padding across hallways, the soft hum of cartoons bleeding into the kitchen, the clink of cereal bowls, and the negotiation of socks.
Mama, I can't find my blue shoes.
Mama, she took my spoon.
Mama!
She answered every call instinctively, like breath. Her husband, Marcus, would appear halfway through the chaos, already dressed, already scrolling through emails. He kissed her cheek in a practiced rhythm, affection without pause.
You're amazing,
He would say, grabbing his coffee, and she would smile, because she was, but also because she didn't know what else to do. 10 years of marriage had taught her the quiet language of compromise, not the loud, cinematic kind, the slammed doors and tearful ultimatums, but the subtle erosion of self. She learned to like what he liked, to prioritize what he prioritized, to silence questions before they could even fully form. It wasn't that Marcus was cruel. He was steady, reliable, predictable. He loved her in the way he knew how. But somewhere along the way, Lillian realized she had become fluent in him and nearly forgotten how to speak herself. At night, when the house finally exhaled into silence, she would sit alone in the dim glow of the kitchen light. That was when she felt it most. The absence, not of love, not of family, but of something unnamed that used to live inside her, something bright, something hers. She tried to remember when it had gone quiet. Was it after the first baby, when sleep became currency and she traded pieces of herself for survival? Or the second, when she became efficient, so efficient that there was no space left for anything unnecessary, including her own desires? Or maybe it had been slower than that, a gradual fading, like a photograph left too long in the sun. One evening, her daughter asked her a question that settled into her bones like truth.
Mama,
She said, coloring at the table.
what do you want to be when you grow up?
Lillian laughed at first, but the sound caught in her throat because she didn't have an answer, and the silence that followed was louder than anything her children had said all day. That night, she stood in front of the bathroom mirror longer than usual. She studied her reflection, not critically, not kindly, just curiously, as if she were meeting a stranger who looked vaguely familiar. Her hair was pulled back in a way that prioritized function over beauty. Her skin held the soft evidence of years lived for others. Her eyes were tired, but not empty. No, there was something there, faint, flickering, waiting. The next morning, she did something small, almost insignificant. After dropping the kids off at school, instead of going straight home, she sat in the car, engine off, hands resting in her lap. The quiet was unfamiliar, uncomfortable, sacred. She didn't fill it with music, didn't reach for her phone. She just sat, and for the first time in a long time, she listened, not to what needed to be done, but to what she felt. At first, there was nothing, just the hum of her own breathing. But then, a whisper, there's more. It wasn't a revelation. It wasn't dramatic. It was barely even audible, but it was enough. The idea of going back to school came to her slowly, not as a bold declaration, but as a quiet curiosity. She had always loved creating, designing, shaping, bringing beauty into ordinary spaces. Before marriage, before children, she had dreamed of building something of her own, something meaningful, something that carried her name. She had set it aside gently back then. There would be time, she told herself. There would always be time. But time, she realized now, doesn't wait. It shifts, it fills. It disappears in the space between intention and action. When she mentioned the idea to Marcus, he looked surprised.
School?
He repeated.
Now?
There was no malice in his tone, just confusion, as if the version of her he knew didn't quite align with the one standing in front of him.
I just want something for me.
She said carefully. He nodded slowly.
Well, if you think you can handle it with everything else.
Everything else. The phrase lingered, heavy, implied. For a moment, she almost backed down, almost convinced herself that the desire was impractical, selfish even. But then she remembered the mirror, the question, the whisper, there's more. So she enrolled. The first day felt like stepping into a life she had almost forgotten she wanted. Classrooms filled with people younger than her, voices louder, faster, less cautious. She felt out of place, like she had arrived late to something important. But she stayed, even when doubt crept in, even when exhaustion followed her like a shadow. She stayed. Days became a balancing act. School, kids, home, marriage. There were moments when everything felt like too much, when guilt whispered louder than ambition, when she questioned whether rediscovering herself was worth the disruption. But then there were other moments, small, radiant ones, when she lost herself in a project and felt time dissolve, when an idea sparked and she followed it, breathless and alive, when she looked at something she had created and thought, "This is me." Her children noticed first.
You smile more.
Her son said one afternoon. She hadn't realized she did, but when she thought about it, he was right. Marcus noticed too, though he didn't always understand it.
You've changed.
He said one evening, not unkindly. She met his gaze.
I think I'm just remembering who I am.
It wasn't a rejection of the life they had built. It was an expansion of it, a reclamation. Years passed in this delicate evolution, not rushed, not perfect, but intentional. When she graduated, her children sat in the front row, clapping louder than anyone else. Marcus stood beside them, proud, a little in awe, as if he were seeing her fully for the first time in years. Starting her business felt less like a beginning and more like a return. She built it slowly, carefully, with the same devotion she had given to her family, but this time, she included herself in that care. It wasn't just about success. It was about meaning, about creating something that reflected not who she had been told to be, but who she chose to be. Her work carried her signature in more ways than one. People came to her not just for what she created, but for how it made them feel, seen, understood, beautiful in their own becoming. And one day, standing in a space she had designed, light pouring in through wide windows, her children laughing somewhere in the background, she caught her reflection again. Not in a mirror this time, but in the glass, soft, layered, real. She paused, looked closer, and there she was, not the girl she used to be, not the version of herself that had disappeared into roles and responsibilities, but someone fuller, richer, more herself than ever before. Recognition settled into her chest like home, quiet, certain. "Yes," it said, "I know you. You are still here." and this time she believed it.